Welcome back to Go With Us, and this is everything you really need to know this week in Pokemon Go, running from the 27th of April all the way until the 4th of May. This is a big week. Let's get straight into our calendar now, and we have to kick off with our Max Monday on the 27th from 6 to 7 p.m. local time, which is going to be featuring Dynamax Shuckle. Shuckle is not known to evolve. It is a bug and water type, and unfortunately, this is a dex filler, and I'm going to explain why. If we just have a look at its base stats, its attack and HP value are so low, but have a look at that defensive stat. It actually makes me laugh as I talk, because at 396, this is some of the highest we've seen in Pokemon Go, and if this HP stat was supporting this a little bit more, it would probably be a brilliant tank for us to use. However, if we have a look at its moveset, it only gets access to Rock Throw and Struggle Bug, of which either of them are not half a second fast move, so it's really falling short there as well. Unfortunately, Shuckle, unless you really wanted to hunt after the shiny, that's probably going to be the only reason to go after the Shuckle. There are definitely better bug type attackers, rock type attackers, and of course there are better tanks to use. Then remember, every Monday morning at 9 a.m. your Adventure Sync rewards will go live, and please remember, if you'd walk 25 kilometers, you will get access to that 5-kilometer Adventure Sync egg. Hatching there, we can see Chingling, Happiny, Audino, Riolu, and Skarmory. Of course, the top picks there are going to be the Riolu. For the Mega Lucario, we've just had Riolu hatch day, so all of us by now should have a pretty strong Lucario. Skarmory is in there. That 100% CP is going to be 1204 off the hatch. Of course, Mega Skarmory is going to be a very, very good flying type attacker as well as steel type attacker when it does come. And of course, Audino can become Mega Audino, which is a great Pokemon to use, not necessarily as an attacker, but to get it to Mega level 3 so you can reap the candy for normal and fairy types. Of course, if you walk 50 kilometers, you will get access to the 10-kilometer Adventure Sync eggs. Hatching there are going to be Goomy, Turtonator, Toxel, Gible, and Dreepy. Of course, Gibble's going to be your top one there because of Mega Garchomp, currently in the top 2 and 3 best dragon and ground type attackers in the game. But the other thing I want to mention here when it comes to eggs is going to be Mateo's 7-kilometer eggs. Guys, please walk routes. There are certain special research tasks which I know you guys have not completed yet. There's actually one special research where I need to walk one more route, or no, I think I completed that the other day. Anyway, the thing I just want to quickly highlight here, because we haven't said this before, is that Mateo grants you 7-kilometer eggs once you exchange gifts. The Pokemon hatching there are going to be Galarian Corsola, Galarian Slowpoke, Hisuian Sneasel, Hisuian Growlithe, but lastly, White Stripe Basculin. If you guys weren't aware, Red Stripe and Blue Stripe Basculin cannot evolve, but White Stripe Basculin is the only one that can evolve into Basculegion. It has not come to the game yet, but this is a water and ghost type Pokemon that has a male and female form, which are very good and they're performing very well in the current Pokemon Champions game right now. Please make sure to try and hunt this Pokemon and try and get that hundo, because I think at some stage it will become relevant. Then just to stick on Monday still, please remember the daily discoveries bonus during the season, which is going to be Fast Track Monday, specifically talking towards this April Go Pass, because you really want to try and progress and get to the tier 100 so you can get that Entei encounter. Fast Track Mondays are going to award you double the points for completing daily tasks. Remember to do that. But what raids are going down this week? Let's kick off with our 5-star raid boss, and leaving on the 28th is going to be Tapu Koko. We did cover this last week, but please remember Tapu Koko is a pretty strong electric type attacker, but it's a very strong fairy type attacker with Nature's Madness specifically. You will need an elite charge TM for that Pokemon, but the very next day, replacing it for this next week is going to be Tapu Lele. If you guys weren't aware, Tapu Lele is actually a psychic and fairy type Pokemon. It has a max CP of 3950, an attack value of 259, which is actually higher than Tapu Koko, a defense of 208, and an HP of 172. The fast moves it has is going to be Astonish and Confusion. Its charged attacks are going to be Draining Kiss, Moonblast, Focus Blast, Future Sight, and Psyshock. Really decent coverage there, but of course it gets access to Nature's Madness. As a psychic type attacker with Confusion and Future Sight, it is currently the 32nd best in the game, but as a fairy type, it's even better than Tapu Koko with Nature's Madness, taking the 6th spot, which is incredible. But it doesn't end there, because Tapu Lele, specifically in the Master League, is a really, really underrated Pokemon, currently hovering around the top 50 right now. But what is going to be the new Mega Raid boss this week? Leaving Mega Raids on the 28th is going to be megasharpedo. We did cover this last week. It is a pretty solid dark and water type attacker, but Mega Gyarados, which shares the exact same typing, is a far better pick with the exact same types. Coming in on the 29th is going to be Mega Banette, which is very interesting because normally we only see this Pokemon around Halloween time generally. At level 50, it's 4063, an attack value of 312, which is starting to look really respectable, but the defense and HP value is a little bit lackluster at 160 and 162, so it's going to hit pretty hard, but it's not going to be on the battlefield for very long. How this translates though is that with Shadow Claw and Shadow Ball, which is a brilliant ghost type combination, it is currently making Mega Banette the 4th best ghost type attacker in the entire game. It is just a pure ghost type, so it doesn't share another typing, but I can formally say, because I've actually used this in raids, as a little bit underrated. It's not going to be as good as something like Mega Gengar or as good as Dawnwing's Necrozma, but it's still, again, if you are a newer player and you're trying to get some good ghost types, this is a great place to start. Then you only have one more week to raid this Pokemon, which is going to be Shadow Latios, and it's a very interesting week to do this in, which we are going to touch on a little bit. But Shadow Latios is a Psychic and Dragon type Pokemon, a max CP of 4310, an attack of 268, 212 on the defense, and 190 on the stamina. Remember, this is a Shadow Pokemon, so its attack is going to be increased by 20%, and its defense will be decreased by 20%. Again, something we're going to elaborate on a little bit later, but how this Pokemon translates as an attacker is that as a Dragon type, it's the 22nd best in the game, and it's the 9th best Psychic type attacker in the game, with then Headbutt and Psychic. And even in the Master League, it's currently hovering around the top 30 mark, and it will need Luster Purge on this to really make it the most effective. When you catch this Pokemon, it's going to know frustration. As we know this week, and coming up in a little bit, the next Team Rocket Takeover event is going to be taking place, so please remember to remove frustration on this Pokemon specifically this week. Now let's have a look at that research breakthrough box again. We pretty much have one more month to do this. Remember, this is your 7th day stamp. Once you collect your 7th day stamp by completing field research, you will then get access to a research breakthrough box, which is going to award you some XP and some items, but most importantly, a reward Pokemon. Those Pokemon are going to be Gyarados at 100% CP of 1453, Honedge is in there at 595, Delmise we can see at 1264, Sinistea is in there at 488 CP, Duraludon's in there at 1314 CP, and Dreepy's in there at 328 CP. That is the only one that cannot be shiny. Back to our calendar again, let's move on to Tuesday, and before we get into any of the events, remember that Showcase Tuesday will be going down, where you can feature Pokemon up to 20 different categories. Please remember, if you are chasing down Platinum medals, winning 100 showcases is going to be your Platinum Showcase medal, so please enter those. I have said it in previous weeks, if you're struggling to win showcases and get the rewards from that, try and enter showcases that are in quieter areas or quieter neighborhoods. That's going to give you a far better chance. People have said that the first, second, and third place rewards have been a little bit nerfed, especially with things like incubators and things like that. People still receive them, but I don't think they're as good, to be honest. I would just prefer spotlight hours. Then we have our first big event of this week, and it is a big one and a very important one. It is going to be the Steeled Resolve event, which is going to be starting on Tuesday at 10 a.m. We have a brand new Pokemon Go debut, which is going to be Orthworm, the plain steel type Pokemon originally coming from the Paldea region. Orthworm cannot evolve, but its shiny will be made available. It can only be found in 3-star raids though, which I think is a big L again. Just release this Pokemon in the wild. It's not going to be the most meta relevant or the most important, but the other big pull of this event is going to be the unlocking of shiny Meltan, which of course is going to be coming from the mystery box. If you guys do not have a mystery box in your game, please remember, all you need to do is have a Pokemon Home account, and you need to send one of your Pokemon from Pokemon Go to Pokemon Home. You can do this by navigating to your settings, then go to the menu of connected devices and accessories. From there, you will be able to navigate to send a Pokemon to Pokemon Home. Once you do that for the very first time, a mystery box will then automatically appear in your bag. I have already done this on 3 separate accounts, so it definitely does work that way. Normally, this mystery box can only be opened once every 3 days, but during this event, I have a feeling it is going to be changed to once every 24 hours. So we pretty much have 7 days to get our shiny Meltan. The great thing about Meltan, it is a straight steel Pokemon, but it is a mythical Pokemon. So every single Meltan you catch, you're gonna get 3 guaranteed XL candy. Now, what I would strongly recommend as we go into the bonuses now is to have a Mega Level 3 Steel type in the background for the entirety of this event, and let me just show you why as we move on to the bonuses. At Tier 1, which is gonna be at level 10 of the Go Pass, it's gonna be 2 times catch candy, and at Tier 2, you're gonna earn more Stardust from completing grunts. So why this is great for Meltan specifically is that with a Mega Level 3 Steel type in the background, and if you're using Pineapple Berries on catching these Meltan, you could potentially get up to 14 candy per catch with a guarantee of 3 XL candy plus the extra rerolls and the XL candy from the mega bonus. So guys, each Meltan, you could potentially get up to 6 XL candy on one catch. I have proven this, and to be honest, I actually have 2 hundos. I have 1 Meltan and 1 hundo Melmetal that I got off the same mystery box. Incredible, here they are for everyone to see. Then spawning in the wild, we can see Magnemite, Aron, Ferroseed, and rare response for Pawniard. Please remember, Pawniard can evolve into Bisharp and eventually into King Gambit. In order to get the King Gambit evolution, you need to set Bisharp as your buddy, and you need to defeat 15 Steel or Dark type Pokemon in raids. But luckily for us, the 1 and 3 star raids are full of Steel type Pokemon. In 1 star raids, we can see Honedge, Shieldon, and Beldum, and the 3 star raids is going to be that Earthworm. Great opportunity to get that evolution, don't forget that. We also have featured field research going down, and we do know the Pokemon there. It's going to be Magnemite, Pineco, Nosepass, Bronzer, Drillbur, Ferroseed, Beldum, and Shieldon. We've already done a full breakdown of this event because right now we've just touched on a few details. This video above me right now is really going to show you what you really should be focusing on, and we're going to leave it as the end screen as well. Make sure to watch that at the end. Then moving on to Wednesday, a much quieter day. The only thing we really need to worry about on this day is going to be the raid hour, which is going to be featuring Tapu Lele. You should be able to duo stroke trio this Pokemon pretty comfortably with the top counters, and let's hope you get lucky with a good 15-15-15 for the Master League. Then moving on to Thursday, as we know, it's a massive day for Go Battle League for the remainder of the season. You can complete up to 10 sets per day on that Thursday, which means you can do up to 50 battles. Guys, the Stardust rewards are going to be 4 times, which means the Stardust rewards are incredible, but most importantly, I want you guys to really focus on the reward Pokemon. We recently, and I did say it last week, we had a community member who got a Hundo Zacian off the reward track. I mentioned also in previous weeks that someone like Jezzy, the editor of this channel, got a Hundo Machamp off the reward track. And I think there were more. Jezzy, I know you're not here next to me right now, but I think there's another Pokemon in his bag that he got that Hundo off of. Yes, it has gone through a bit of a rework recently, and there are still a bit of bugs and glitches, but for most of the player base, we're not trying to get to that legend rank unless you really want to. It's more about having fun, learning the matchups, learning types, but getting the rewards, because trust me, it's a pretty underrated way to get resources, but also some very good Pokemon to use on your Pokemon Go journey. Try and play as much GBL as you can on this Thursday. But also on Thursday, there's a big thing that's taken place. Giovanni with Team Rocket has taken over the Steel Resolve event. The bonuses there is that Team Go Rocket Grunts are going to be appearing at Pokestops more frequently, a lot more frequently, and the balloons are going to be coming around every 2 or 3 hours as opposed to every 6 hours. Pokemon caught via 1 and 3 star Shadow Raids are going to have a wider variance of IV, so you can get low attack, high defense, high stamina, especially for your PvP players. Also remember, the biggest bonus whenever it comes to taking over events by Team Rocket is that we can get the ability to remove frustration using a charged TM. I'm going to recommend this now. Please make yourself a frustration tag folder where I want you to tag every single shadow Pokemon that you want to remove frustration from, put it in this folder, and then remove frustration one by one because it's going to be your best chance at not missing or forgetting about a certain shadow Pokemon that you wanted to remove frustration from. Also, for the very first time in Pokemon Go, we are going to be able to hatch from 12km eggs shiny Varoom, which is absolutely beautiful, especially when it goes into that shiny red Varoom. It's almost like that gold plates gets it, like that kind of, I don't know, it just looks super clean, man. I love that shiny. Then, as we know, Giovanni has returned and he has captured Shadow Incarnate Landorus, which of course you can only complete this by getting a Black Rocket Radar, which is going to be coming through the Taken Over Go Pass, but it's unknown yet if we are going to get a new special research, which of course you can potentially stack. Don't go past that first page of the special research, because at the end of that special research, you would have got a Black Rocket Radar anyway. I would save that for a Shadow Raid boss that you really want to go after. That being said, Shadow Landorus Incarnate is actually a pretty strong ground type attacker. It is currently the 6th best ground type attacker in the game, which I think is pretty solid. Also, there are going to be new Shadow Pokemon that are coming into rotation. We can see Shadow Helioptile, Shadow Dupiter, Shadow Morlul, as well as Shadow Stuffle. What I've actually done for you guys is done a whole separate Rocket Takeover video, which is going to be detailing all of the new Shadow Pokemon and how good they are, especially their evolutions. We're also going to look at the Shadow Incarnate Landorus to see how good it really is, and if it's worth it, and if you should maybe stack the radar for something else. And we will also leave that as the end screen. Please make sure to watch that Sealed Resolve event as well as the Taken Over video. Then, moving on to Friday. If you guys didn't know, and if you have watched previous weeks, you would know Friendship Fridays has to do with trading Pokemon. Now, I've said this every week, but I have even more examples to back up why you need to be trading Pokemon almost every day in Pokemon Go if you possibly can. Guys, I laugh because I literally did this 3 times this week. Me and Juzzy were trading between accounts. Look what popped up on his account. Hundo Orange Flower Flabebe. On top of the other day, one of our accounts getting a Hundo Lucky Tinkatink. And it also happened again. Juzzy sent me a Hundo Lucky Magikarp, all in the space of like the last 7 days, purely from trading Pokemon. Guys, you're gonna be getting a guarantee of 2 XL candies. You can make 1 additional special trade on that day for a total of 2. Trades are gonna cost 10% less Stardust, so it is gonna cost slightly less Stardust, but especially in a bigger volume, it's gonna show difference. But most importantly, there is an increased chance of getting lucky Pokemon. We've done a little bit of research, and what you guys probably don't know is that normally every single trade you would do outside of Fridays has about a 5% chance of going lucky. But we've done a little bit of research and some stats are telling us this increase from 5% could go all the way up to potentially 15% because some of the results are as follows. I've seen a trainer do 200 trades, of which 100 of them came on the previous Friendship Friday and the other one came on the next Friendship Friday. Guys, in total of the 200 trades, he was trading between a best friend. He got over 35 luckies in 200 trades. Guys, to be honest, it's ridiculous if you aren't trading Pokemon. Then on to Saturday. A lot of people have forgotten about this because it's actually falling into May. But guys, one of the big pulls of this Team Rocket Takeover event is going to be Shadow Entei having its own raid day on the Saturday from 2 to 5 p.m. local time. The event bonus is that we can get up to 6 free raid passes from spinning gym discs, which is awesome. There's going to be an increased chance of encountering shiny Entei from raids, hopefully at a 1 in 10 shiny rate. You can buy the ticket for a total cost of $5, which is going to get you an additional 14 raid passes from spinning gym discs for a total of 20 or 21 if you didn't do a raid the day before. You're going to get increased chance to get rare candy XL from these raids, 50% more XP from these raid battles, as well as 2 times the Stardust from these raid battles. Strongly recommend buying this ticket from the web store so you can progress on that track on their point system to eventually claim some premium items. Very, very worth it. But if you guys weren't aware, especially if you are returning to Pokemon Go, Shadow Entei is one of the best fire type attackers in the entire game, especially coming in the Shadow. It's a great time to remove frustration as well, just like it is for that Shadow Latios or any other Shadow you have encountered recently that you haven't removed frustration from. This is the perfect time to do this, guys. We will have our own separate video covering that event, but this is just the details of what's going down. Moving on to Sunday, the only thing we really need to worry about there is going to be that double time Sunday, which is going to increase your lure module bonus duration. This could be a great thing to do while you're hunting grunts, as well as catching those steel type spawns. Maybe pop an incense while you're doing that as well. More Pokemon means more Stardust, more XP, but more potential at getting good Pokemon. As we said, please check out the Steeled Resolve event first, and then I want you guys to check out the Taken Over video, which is going to be on my right here. Check out these 2 videos, they interlink perfectly, and I think it's really going to help you on this week. Please like and subscribe and smash that hype button so this video can travel as far as wide as possible. We appreciate your support, love you so much, we cannot do this without you, and we'll catch you in the next one, baby. Thank you. Shh.